it's not over when you lose. It's only over when you quit.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. This is the 65th episode of the podcast, and I have an old friend of mine who I go back with a long way, to be honest. Without further ado, though, Triston Landrum, welcome to the Roughnecks Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I think I tried to get you on a while back, but you're so busy with everything that you always have going on that you don't always have time to hop on here and record. But I'm glad I'm finally able to get you on, considering I've known you for a long time. It feels like, I don't even remember, like it was maybe like second grade when I first met you, third grade or something, maybe even first grade. I don't remember, down there at Kirkersville Elementary though.
Yeah, we go way back into the elementary days. It's pretty cool.
I think my first memory of you that I have is you were in a wheelchair because of something that you did, is what we'll discuss today. But you were in a wheelchair popping wheelies with your wheelchair out there on the blacktop in Kirkersville Elementary.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And
the weird thing is, too, we didn't even really know it at the time originally that my brother-in-law a little bit as well, because I remember one time, since my brother-in-law raced, and I was like showing him like, I went to school with this kid, and he's like, is that Triston? And I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah, I know who he is. I was like, oh, okay. But I like to start out every episode allowing my guests to give a background on themselves. So tell us who Triston Landrum is and what you do.
Yeah, so pretty much all I do right now is race dirt bikes about every single weekend, and right now is my off time. But I mow quite a bit during the week as well for my dad's business, and then on my free time I like to go golfing and go hunting whenever I can. But like you said before, I'm super busy, so it's kind of hard for me to get into a bunch of that. But yeah, pretty much that. My free time, like I said, I like to golf. I go cycling quite a bit, but there's not really a whole lot that goes on besides dirt bikes with me.
What was the time frame of your season usually for say?
So normally my main races, which is the Grand National Cross Country, they start at the end of February, and they would go clear to the end of October. We have like a month and a half, 2-month break in the middle of summer, but then there's all kinds of races in Ohio, and I like to hit those to kind of stay in it and not get too lazy with myself. So I'm still racing every weekend, but we have a little break off in the summer. That's kind of nice. But other than that, it's pretty much from February until the end of October.
How old were you when you actually, how long have you been racing?
So I started when I was 4 years old. I raced a fair race. I don't really remember it too well, but I'm pretty sure my first ever race was the Hartford Fair, actually.
Oh, hell yeah. The people around this area know exactly. I feel like there's a lot of people around here that might be their only race, but it was the first time they ever raced was there at Hartford.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that was my first ever race there. And I don't really remember it too well, but my grandpa, he always tells me a story about when I would come over the finish line, I would slow down and wave at him. But like I said, that was when I was 4, and I don't really recall that too much. So I've been racing 18 or 19 years now.
That's crazy. What exactly was it that kind of got you into it? I guess almost what keeps you going with it too?
My dad got me into it. There was pretty much no way around it. He wanted me to race dirt bikes, and I mean, from the time that I could walk, I loved it. And yeah, so he did a bunch of riding when he was younger, and then my grandpa rode quite a bit too. My dad didn't. He raced some when he got older and out of sports, but they were more into sports. And my dad, he wanted me to get into racing right off the bat and start early. So that's what I did, and pretty much haven't looked back since.
Yeah, because I remember a good old Miss Bell-Eye's class back in high school. There was times where you'd be gone on Friday. You wouldn't be in class on Friday because you'd be on the way to like South Carolina or something for a race or what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. School was tough. I mean,
Because
in the
you were
winter,
actually homeschooled for a little bit, weren't you?
yeah, I homeschooled my 8th grade year, and homeschool wasn't for me. I don't really like sitting there staring at a computer all day. I kind of like around everybody and like watching stuff to try to learn it. And so homeschool definitely wasn't for me. I mean, it was good because I was able to go and be wherever I needed to be. But like you said, I missed a lot of school. I mean, when there was limit days, I mean, I was nailing every single one of them.
But you got to do it. You got to do what you got to do essentially. And I mean, everybody knew why you were missing school. And like, it was almost a passion of yours. Like, it's hard to tell a kid, hey, I mean, I get it. Like, you need to be in school, but at the same time, like, you're chasing a dream of yours, and it's hard to tell someone not to chase their dreams in the same time.
Yeah, it was super difficult because the teachers would definitely get on me and stuff, and I always did good. I didn't ever have bad grades. That was the one thing is if my grades dropped, I wasn't allowed to be going down south. So I always stayed on top of my school. It was just they had the rule of certain days and all that. So sometimes it would get a little complicated every once in a while, but we got through it.
But you're currently, I believe, number 704, correct?
Yeah.
Is there a reason behind the number? Because I feel like a lot of people have a reason behind their number choice. Is there a reason behind the reason you picked 704?
Yeah. So I've been 704 for almost my whole entire racing career. And so it's my AMA number, and your AMA number is 6 numbers long, and mine's 809704. So it's my last 3 of my AMA. And with it being my AMA number, like wherever I go and race, if somebody else like would have my number, like if I wanted to complain about it, they would have to take theirs like and put like a cross through it or something, because it's like that number is designated to me. So that's kind of why I just ran it. Like it's not really a rule. You can run whatever your number you want, but like if it came down to it, like that's my number. And I just ran it ever since my dad knew the rule when I was real young, and he put it on there, and we just stayed with it.
So what exactly is an AMA number for people who may not know exactly what it is?
So every time, like certain races, like my Grand National Cross Country Series, you have to have an AMA card to race it. So it's kind of just like a little membership for dirt bike racing, and certain events you have to have it. There's some that you don't have to have it, but that's just pretty much what it is. It's just a little membership card.
But you're also, you got the hat on right now, the Phoenix hat, you got the sponsors and whatnot. What is that feeling like when you got that first sponsor? What was that feeling like?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I've always had quite a bit of sponsors and people here and there helping me out. And I mean, honestly, in our sport, if it wasn't for little sponsors there, like you wouldn't make it nowhere. I mean, it's to be able to compete with some of the kids and guys, it's pretty hard, and it's a lot of money. And
yeah, I was gonna say, and it's an expensive freaking a sport. Like people don't realize how much money goes behind it just in travel alone. Not a lot, and then you got to include the dirt bike and all everything else behind it. It's a very expensive sport.
Yeah, and then so last year I got a message from one of the mechanics down at Phoenix Racing, and he told me to get a hold of him. And I mean, as soon as I got that message, instantly my heart was pounding. And I'm like, oh man, this is what I've been working for. It's like, let's go. So I got a hold of him, and it wasn't a like for sure thing right off the bat. It was just kind of, hey, like we're looking at you. And I still had some nationals to go. And I ended up breaking down one national, and that kind of hurt me a little bit. And I was like, man, like now they're going to just be like, no, we don't want him. And then my last national, I was able to kill it, and I won and got one of my best overalls in the nationals. And then it just, from there on, like, I went to one of the races, and talked to the team, and everything seemed to be going good. And then I went down January 1st of this year and picked up one of the Hondas and headed to Florida right after that. And I was in Florida for like 7 or 8 weeks training and getting ready for that. And then we started off the year with a second right off the bat and just kept grinding away all summer.
So I got to ask this question. I meant to ask Cheney because I had Kyle Cheney on this podcast also. And, I was talking and I was thinking about it, like, because after races and stuff, when you guys are doing your little interviews or whatever, and you're like, you go through your list of sponsors, how the hell do you guys remember that shit? Because there is a long list with some of you guys. Like, if you watch freaking Supercross and stuff, like, they go through a list that can get lengthy. How do you guys remember all of it?
I mean, after a race, there's a good chance that I'll miss some. So we have Instagram, social media, which I'm not too fond on social media, but for that kind of stuff, I mean, we have to have it. And so I have a list of our sponsors copied in my notes, and I'll just copy and paste it every time. But on the podium, it's super hard to remember. Sometimes you can just kind of glance down at the bike because we have like their logos on the bike, and yeah, I don't know. Some people are really good at it. I'm horrible at it. Once I get there, I kind of don't know what to say.
So you kind of mentioned it, like you went and picked up that new Honda. So is there like a learning curve, almost like just a comfort thing, getting used to the bike when you get a new bike every time?
Yeah, I mean, when you like I was on Yamaha and then I went to Honda, and they're both Jap bikes, so they're kind of similar, but I felt like I was going to be perfect right off the bat. And I liked the bike right off the bat, but it was the suspension was just a little bit different here and there, and just the feel of the bike was a little bit different. So yeah, it took me a couple of days to get used to it, but it wasn't too bad. And then yeah, I kept learning stuff. I mean, there's still sometimes I go out and I'm still learning stuff here and there about it, but I've got it pretty well dialed now.
So I wanted to kind of talk about your racing career and some of the memories that come with it, and like some of the stories that go with it. The first one I have to ask is like, what's your favorite racing memory that you have? Like, favorite win? What is it?
Well,
and I know after so many years of racing, it's almost hard to kind of narrow it down to just one time that is one of your favorite memories.
Probably one of the biggest memories is my dad made me a bet kind of, and he said that if I win a GNCC championship, which is my biggest series that I race, he said that if I win a championship, he would buy me a pit bike, which is a pit bike is just a little bike that you mess around on, kind of just a little play dirt bike. And when I was younger, I mean, that I wanted one so bad. So he told me if I win a GNCC championship, I'll get you one. And then, I mean, we took off the season, and in the youth bikes and right now in amateurs, if you win 9 races, then there's no way somebody can beat you in the championship. It's locked up. So I had won 8 straight races, and we came into our race that was in Ohio, where like all my family and stuff come to, and my dad pretty much knew, like, okay, he's won 8, like I'm gonna have to get him a pit bike. So I actually showed up at that race, and he had already had the pit bike there. He already went and got me, so I was super excited about that. And then I was able to win the next day and win my championship. So that was pretty cool. And I still have my pit bike to this day. It's not really rideable right now. It's kind of tore apart in the shop, and it's been tore apart for a couple of years, but I still have it.
So another one that I wanted to ask, like, because you've raced in a handful of different states. I mean, how many states have you, honestly, off the top of your head? Do you think, how many states have you raced in?
I've never went past Indiana, and then I've raced every state from clear down to Florida. I've raced up in New York, but I've just been in like the East Coast states, not really like further. The furthest I've went up to New York, and then I've been down to Florida, and then all the states in between. And then, like I said, out to Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Georgia, just pretty much all the southern states clear up here to Ohio.
Which one is your favorite to race in? Because I mean, the dirt is probably a little different. Like the track conditions are they different in every state almost?
Yeah, they're quite a bit different. So my favorite dirt is when we go to Indiana, as long as it's not like super muddy or like if it's like, as we would say, perfect dirt is when we're turning, like we're not sliding hard, we're just sticking to it. And Indiana probably has the best dirt. But then, yeah, so like if you go to West Virginia, it gets a little bit rocky. Virginia's kind of rocky. And then North Carolina, sometimes you have like kind of like clay. And then you get into South Carolina and you'll get into kind of some like hard packed dirt where it's kind of like, it's closer to like pavement sometimes. Like it's pretty hard. And then some parts of South Carolina has sand. And then Georgia has like red clay. And it's not too bad. It's horrible to clean because it does not want to come off the bike. And then Florida's just straight sand the whole time. And it's fun. It's fun to ride in the sand. It's our races are 3 hours long, and it's not the funnest to race in sand for 3 hours just because it's like, it's just physically, it's horrible on your body. Like you're constantly fighting your bike. Like if you get lazy one bit, you're going straight to the sand.
Yeah. And then that sand, that's the thing, like even about going to the beach that I struggle with. Sand, once you get it on you, and it gets freaking everywhere. Like I'm sure when you take your clothes off after the race, you're just dumping sand out of your boots, out of freaking like it's just keep coming out in piles. I'll take it to this one. What is your worst wreck? Because I'm sure you've had a handful of wrecks that you've gone through. Which one do you think is the worst one that you've had?
So I had a crash, not, it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago. It was actually down in Logan, Ohio by Hawking Hills. I was just out practicing, and I was riding so we get our suspension done on our bikes and stuff. So I was riding a brand new bike that had just bone like stock suspension. So it's like made for like a way heavier guy because it's really stiff. Well, I was just out having fun riding, and we were riding this it's like a gravel quarry kind of place, so it's kind of like got like sand in it, but it's got gravel in it also. And I was just going down this straightaway kind of right by my dad on this little track that we were riding, and so my bike just kind of kicked out a little bit, and it didn't really scare me. I mean, I've been in that situation a lot. Most of the time I can like catch it. Well, with my bike just having like suspension that's super stiff, it just bucked me, and then somehow my boot got stuck on my handlebar, and then it like cartwheeled and flipped me, and I wasn't able to get off my bike because I was like stuck to it, and it kind of just beat me off the ground a couple of times and flipped me. And then I'm not flexible like at all, and when I closed my eyes because it was like I was in a tornado. I was just going every way. Well, when I like opened my eyes, my chin was like touching my knee, and I'm not flexible at all. So it didn't hurt me. Like it like the back of my hamstring was definitely sore because I've never been that far stretched, but luckily I didn't break nothing. It knocked the crap out of me pretty good, and it scared my dad pretty good too. But I've had a couple big crashes like that. It's kind of weird. Like a crash like that, sometimes you'll get a little cocky riding, and sometimes a crash like that will kind of
put you back a little bit. Yeah.
Sometimes you need something like that.
That's what I was going to ask. Like after a crash and stuff, is it one of those too? Like it's, I mean, you're a crazy MFer. Like we've always known that, but like, when it comes to it, like that crash, does it take you a second kind of get back? I mean, I'm sure in a race you got the adrenaline, so you're good if you like lay the bike down or whatever, but does it kind of give you that for a second, like, all right, I need to slow down? Like you almost slow down for a minute.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you'll think twice about doing some stuff for a couple rides after it, but then you kind of end up losing it here and there. And then the older I get, they'll stay in my head a little bit more, like a little bit longer. But yeah, they definitely they'll have you thinking sometimes.
Yeah. But like you deal with adversity all through every race because like I mean like you said your races are 3 hours long. There's something that's gonna go wrong. Almost I mean I'm sure it's inevitable. Like you're gonna go through something with your bike or the track conditions. So like how do you handle that during a race? I'm sure it can be frustrating at times like when things aren't going your way. But how do you handle that during a race when you're going through all these things that might be going wrong?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's crazy. It's something different almost every weekend. It took me all the way up until this year to just realize, I mean, in a 3 hour race, it's not about if something's going to go wrong. It's about when, because something is going to go wrong. It might not be big. It might just be something small, and it's definitely tough. I've had my days where I react the total wrong way, and my results will show it. And then I've had my days where I've just not even let it bother me and come back strong. And that's a big thing this year is when the day gets bad, it's just honest to God, it's my results end up being on how I react to that. If it's just like anything, if you have a complete like bad attitude about it, like I'm probably going to have a bad result. And it's super hard. I mean, it's really hard sometimes to just stay positive when stuff happens. But I'm still learning it, that it's 10 times better to just kind of brush it off and just keep going.
Man, I think you hit that perfect. Like everything you said, there's times that like once you learn, like there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well just essentially take it on the chin and just keep going, keep grinding.
Yep.
But so take me through exactly what the GNCC, right? Yeah. What
Yep.
exactly, like what the type of racing is for the people who don't know what it is? Like, is it trail riding? Is it like what you see on TV? Like what exactly is it?
So it's normally like 80 to 90% woods. So trails, and we have arrows that we follow. And so we'll line up in like a field, and there's like certain rows, and they have like your class marked out. And they'll like you have like a riders meeting kind of before we race. So we're all in our correct rows, and they'll make everybody shut their bike off. And then they kind of go over like the rules of it. And then there will be a track marshal, which is like the guy that lays out the track, and he'll kind of get on the loudspeaker, and he'll like tell us like about the whole track, which we already know the whole track. I mean, we have these bicycles that are they're called e-bikes, so they're electric. So I mean, by the time we race, we've already done 3 or 4 laps around the track, so we know everything that's coming at us. Like I said, the track will be marked with arrows, and they're anywhere from 12 to like 13 miles. Sometimes we'll have a long one. But yeah, it just varies kind of depending on how big the property is. But yeah, so they'll go over the track, and then we'll get to racing. And so the front row, like the XC1 Pro, will take off the fastest dudes, and then it kind of just bounces back through the rows, and it's separated by 1 minute. And once they throw a green flag, like our bikes are shut off, they throw a green flag. As soon as they throw the flag, you start your bike as fast as you can, and then you take off. And then it's 3 hours until the finish of the race. So it's kind of, there's a little bit of pace in that you have to do, but it's actually a lot of strategy. But yeah, that's pretty much how it goes, the race wise.
So how many people are usually racing like against you?
So against me in my class, we normally have about 20 to 25 kids in it. And then the overall, so like the whole number of the whole race, there's normally, I don't know, I think there's normally 300 riders in the afternoon. And the afternoon is like the more advanced riders. There's also a morning race right before us that is 2 hours long. And it's kind of like the older guys and the riders that don't have as much experience, they have a race before us. That way they're not out there having to deal with like the pros come flying up on them and scaring them and stuff like that. So they get the race before us. And there's normally like 500 riders in that race. And then there's also youth riders that race before them at 8 o'clock in the morning.
So, like you kind of talked, like you're going through the woods and I'm sure there's more than just one path you can take. How do you go about choosing, like I know you go through with the e-bikes and stuff, but how do you like kind of pick a good path? What makes a good path to take?
Yeah. From the arrows, you have 25 feet of uh, each side of the arrow that you're allowed to go, unless there are certain rules like we have these placards, and they're kind of striped, like these striped signs, and they go on each side of the track, and you have to go in between those. You're not allowed to go on the outsides of them. So we'll have spots where you have to go in one line, but then yeah, like just sharp turns, if you're able to kind of like cut them a little bit and like make the track straighter, or like mud holes. Sometimes mud holes get like super wide, and obviously if you go in the wrong spot, you'll be buried. So you got to be smart when you come into sections like those. And then there's hill climbs where there'll be lines all over the hill. But yeah, so you pretty much have 25 feet on each side of the arrow that you're allowed to go. And then if there's spots where they think you'll cut, they'll just put like ribbon up so you can't go through it to kind of even it out. But yeah, it's pretty hard sometimes, because when we go out and cycle, you'll try to find the best line possible. But I mean, on a 12-mile track, I mean, there's 10 to 15 different lines. It's so hard to remember them.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything that you have do you have a pre-race ritual? Is there anything that you do before every race or after every race that it is every single time?
I mean, my hydration's pretty much the exact same. I drink Pedialyte quite a bit, but you also can't overhydrate, because then I mean, you'd almost be better off dehydrated. So my hydrating is pretty much my only ritual. Like, I try to stay on the same exact thing that I do every weekend. And then Sunday's a lot more strict when I'm about to race. I normally eat a bowl of oatmeal and a banana in the morning, or I like to eat pancakes in the morning, and then I can only eat a sandwich from about 11 to 11:45 before the race. And I mean, one sandwich is everything I can do to get it down, but I know I'll need it in the middle of the race. But pretty much those 2 meals before I race. And then, like I said, my drinking, my hydration is about the only thing that I pay attention to. Those 2 things are really the only thing that I kind of do the same every weekend.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people like from a football standpoint. I kind of understand what you're saying, because you're going to be sweating a crap ton underneath all your gear that you have on. That's where people, and it's hot, like it's already hot, and then you got all this gear on that's like you're just dripping sweat. So like the hydration part, some people can underestimate that, and it can end up ruining the race for them, I feel like, if they don't hydrate the correct way.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's times where I've definitely, like, so like when I take off in a race, if it's like my very first lap and I already start to feel my mouth kind of getting dry, then I kind of know, like, okay, I probably didn't drink quite enough today. I also wear a fanny pack Camelback, so I'm able to drink while I'm riding. And I typically don't drink a lot out of it. It's kind of hard for me to drink while I'm riding. I don't know. It's weird, because when the speed that we're going, I don't really think much about drinking. And then I make like 5 or 6 drink bottles as well. So I'll make like a Gatorade bottle. I'll drill the lid of it out, and I'll put like a hose, like a kind of smaller hose about the size of your pinky, in the top of it. And I'll have some kind of electrolyte in that. And I will take one of those, like I said, however long the track is. If we're going to do 6 laps, I normally try to at least have 5 bottles that I get in me. And then sometimes I take these little energy goos at my pit stop, because we stop once or twice, and I'll try to get like some caffeine in. And but other than that, there's not a whole lot to it, because you can't really put weird stuff in your body when we're going that hard, or you end up getting your gut will like knot up on you.
Yeah. So you're currently in the off season, and I kind of want to talk about the off season because like you said, you do a lot of cycling in your free time. What is a normal like cycling? Like how far is it normally for you?
So right now I'm cycling. I will do they're about the past 2 weeks I've done 2 days. I'll cycle on Thursday and I've been cycling on Sundays. And I don't really have a distance that I go, but I have to cycle for an hour and a half. So like my last cycle that I did, I think it was like 26 miles, which is kind of just average mileage. But yeah, it just depends on what my day looks like. I have like a set program that I'm on right now, so I just go based off what it says.
So take us through, like, what is the off season like? Like, what are the off season workouts and that kind of stuff? Like, what is it like for you guys?
So, I mean, it's kind of different for everybody. Some people take more time off than others. I took, so my last race was in the end of October. And I think I took almost exactly 2 weeks off, maybe 3. I can't remember. And I kind of didn't do nothing, no cardio, no lifting. I just kind of hung out and let my body heal back up. And then, so my workouts that I've been doing now, it's a bunch of it's weights. And it's quite a bit more like lower body, like legs, just because it's better to have a stronger lower body for racing. You don't really have to have like a super strong upper body. So I don't know, it's about 3 days a week of legs workouts. And it's quite a bit of like, one day it'll be deadlifting. And then my next workout maybe like front squats. I do a bunch of front squatting and stuff like that. And then there's a bunch of like mobility work that I've been doing too, because like I said, I'm not flexible at all. And my new trainer is, we're kind of going after that hardcore right now. Since it's not really race season, we can work on stuff like that. But right now we're just strength training, and we do quite a bit on a rower too. The rowers, it's awful. I had my workout tonight was we do like these 500-meter sprints, and they get pretty difficult. But yeah, so it's right now we're just pretty much strength training. And like I said, I'll do a couple of days a week of cardio, but not a whole lot. And then when the season starts back up, it kind of switches a little bit. We still do some weight training, but not as much. It'll be a lot more of like cardio, running and cycling and stuff like that, and riding. I mean, when I'm able to ride, obviously that's what I do, is race. So, I mean, there's nothing that replaces that. I need to ride as much as I can.
How much time do you spend actually like riding, like practice riding essentially before a race and whatnot?
So like before a race week, I normally try to get 2 days in of riding. I normally try to like do a Tuesday, Thursday, or like a Wednesday, Thursday. And it's not really a whole lot. I normally do about an hour and a half to an hour each day. So normally like around 2 hours, 2.5 hours sometimes during the week. So we're not like no 10 hours a week on the bike or nothing like that. Just kind of just staying in it. That way I'm like refreshed for the race. And then after the race, the following week, sometimes I'll do a little bit more riding just because I don't have to be ready the following weekend for a big race. So it just kind of depends. Each week's different, it seems like.
Yeah. How much time do you usually have between races?
So my nationals will, like when they start, we normally go every other weekend. So it's 2 weeks. I'll have, I think there's two races that are separated by 3 weeks, but most of the time it's just every other weekend all the way until the break. And like I said, we have like a 2-month long break, and then it's every other weekend, 4 rounds after the break, and then it's over.
So the final question I got for you about racing though is, what are the goals of your racing career? Where do you want this to end up?
I mean, I would like to make it all the way up into the XC1, and be able to compete up there someday. I need to start getting a little bit faster though. That's my main goal coming in this winter is I need to pick up some speed, and next year at this time, I need to be ready for the XC2 Pro, which is the 250 Pro class. I need to be ready to race in that class next year. So I need to pick it up a little bit this winter and ride with some faster guys and just get some more speed and just keep working as hard as I can.
Do you have a group of guys that you normally like you normally are riding with in your practice time and whatnot?
Yeah, I've got some buddies that they're not from Ohio, so we're always together. It seems like in Florida, we kind of live with each other. There's a group of us that'll go down there and live. Last year, it's going to be different for me this year. So last year I was living, and there was like 15 of us training every day together, so it was fun. And I mean, I was living with 15 of them, and I would say that I was only faster than probably a couple of them. So I was living with some like fast guys. There was the 15 guys there, they're all really good riders, but there was some really fast riders there that there's sometimes I would do a 30-minute moto and sometimes they would lap me. So
that's good for you too. Like it helps. Yeah. Like you said, you need to start riding with faster riders. Like riding with people that are better than you helps improve yourself.
Yep.
So I have one question that I like to ask every single one of my guests, and it's a fun one, and I'm interested to hear it from you. But it's, if you could go back in time and tell your 16-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
Probably that the tough days when I was 16, they're not actually tough. So honestly,
just wait till you become an adult. It gets worse.
Yeah. I'm sure my tough days now aren't even that tough. I'm sure it just keeps getting tougher and tougher. But there was a lot when I was 16. There was some stuff that I would have liked to done a little bit different. But probably just the tough days back then weren't really that tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy to like look at, because I do it all the time, where I remember like being back in high school and stuff, and like the problems I would thought were just like the end of the world, and then I like got to college and I'm like, why did I even worry about that? But then I'd have these things in college that are like, this is like the end of the world. Now I'm out of college and I'm like,
yeah,
this is nothing compared. Like I had no problems back then. I don't even know why I was complaining.
Yep.
It just keeps getting worse and worse, which kind of sucks. The whole adulting thing, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean I got to pay bills? No one told me about this. But this leads us into the best segment of the podcast, which is Motivation Monday. Motivation Monday is the point in the episode where I allow the guests to give the Roughnecks listeners a little inspirational bump to set the tone for the week as they listen on Monday morning. So what do you got for Motivation Monday, Triston Landrum?
Motivation Monday. It's not over when you lose. It's only over when you quit. That's probably my favorite one.
I like that, because that's where a lot of people, like, we've talked 100 freaking times, but it kind of comes back to it all the time. And it's, like, your losses will teach you more than your wins ever will. Like, going through those struggles, going through the things that went wrong is better for you, because it's a better learning experience. You learn a lot more from those losses than you ever will with those wins.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's the same in your racing career. Like, every bad loss you have, like, the wins, because Kyle Chaney talked about it on his episode, you go through these wins and like you don't get as much satisfaction. Like, yeah, you're satisfied, but it's like coming back from a loss or something, or coming back from when you battle from behind, and it's like those struggles are what makes it more satisfying.
Yep. Yeah, that's funny we're talking about this. Me and my dad, we were just talking about this a couple weeks ago, that it's crazy to look back. I think I might have been 18. It's been a couple years ago. So I was probably 18, and I was just getting. It didn't matter. Like no matter what national I went to, I was getting beat, and I ended up. I think I broke my foot when I was 18 or 19, and then I came back from it, and it was just. I mean, I was losing here at my locals, and I was. It was a super low time of like my racing career. There was a couple of times where I was like, man, it's like, is this what I want to do? And it's like with racing, it's almost like you can't. Like if you're asking yourself that stuff, you almost need to just stay home the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You're either all in and going to do good, or you're done. Like not done, but like you're not going to get a good result. And I kind of kept doing that, just going back and forth. And I mean, now that I look back on it, like I'm glad I went through it, because it taught me how to lose. And it's so weird saying that, but like I feel like that's with anything. You've got to learn how to lose, or like you're going to be kind of, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. It's weird.
I know, yeah,
Just,
like because you have to.
Yeah.
Nobody likes losing, but it's about how
Yep.
you handle those losses, and you learn over time how to handle those losses. Because when we were young and everything, like we go through stuff, we hate losing, like we get all pissed off, we start yelling, we cuss, whatever it is. But now it's like, all right, I lost. What did I do wrong? And how am I going to fix it? That kind of stuff. Like that's where, as you get older, you start to realize like you have to take that loss on the chin and just grow from it.
yeah. That's it's weird because like I'm racing in a class right now that a couple of my competitors, or most of my competitors, are actually a couple years younger than me. And you know, they've just kind of got that younger mentality where like where we used to, like it's just they go at it every single weekend full bore. And like I used to be the same way. I never thought about the bad things, like some, like you know how it is as you get older, you start to think a little bit more. And I was just saying that I was just telling my girlfriend that earlier, that it's almost like I feel really good about this year coming up, because I feel like I'm like way more knowledgeable, and I know exactly what I need to be doing. I know like how much work needs to go into it. And I feel like I didn't really I won my last race, but it's almost like I learned something by winning that last race that I think is going to help me a lot coming into this year.
Well, it just goes to show experience is key. And that's where that can go into job force, whatever it is. That's where people, you come from the kind of the blue collar styles, well, like where people like complain like, oh, this person's making more money than me. Yeah, they have way more experience than you. Like they know a lot more than you do. And it's not to say that you're not knowledgeable, but like experience is key, and it will always trump anything.
Yep.
Now you have to know what to do with that experience, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I feel like I've always had good experience, but now I've just got to apply the hard work. I know that I've gotten outworked here and there, and some of them kids, they still just have that kid energy in them, and they can go for 3 hours and get done, and they're not even sweating, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God. And then if I look back, I'm like, man, I was the same way. And it's just the older you get, like I just know now that like the harder I work on this off season, the better I'm going to be off. And so it's just all about like coming into this year. I mean, they always say it, like your only competition's yourself. And I mean, it's true. Like the harder I go at it with myself, the better and stronger and more grittier I can be.
100%. And with that, that's a wrap on the 65th episode of the Rough Decks podcast. Appreciate you coming on, Triston. Where can people follow your racing career if they want to watch you?
Yeah, they can. My Instagram is Triston Landrum. Pretty much all my stuff goes on there. Some of the stuff will go on to Facebook too, and same as just Triston Landrum. But other than that, yeah.
Wish you the luck in the rest of your racing career. I'll definitely be keeping tabs on you. I always watch your Instagram videos and whatnot. But next week, we have a guest making a reappearance who you won't want to miss. He's continued to improve his career. It's kind of crazy where he's at now compared to where he was a year ago. And where he was a year ago was also kind of crazy. But you won't want to miss that. But you guys know the deal. Life is hard and is going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. Don't let the bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks out. Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. If you like this show, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. Be sure to head over to social media and give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Roughnecks Podcast. And our Twitter is at Roughnecks Pod C1. If you ever have a guest idea or just a question that you want to shoot me, then email me at roughneckspodcast@gmail.com. Don't let that bull of life walk all over you when it knocks you down. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Until next week, Roughnecks out.